Alright, today I'm going to show you how to take off the chain on a Ducati, the S2R 800. Right now what I've done is I've taken the back tire off. I will post a link here for a video on how to change that out if you need to get that far. This is what that guard looks like, so just take that off. Those are what the bolts look like. And then I've taken off the little shield that goes right here as well. It's just got those little Allen bolts in there. And there's two of those bolts on this thing. And now I'm going to take this off right here. It's got the little bolt right there, and then it'll give me access to the chain. The chain, you can see, is connected with a kingpin like this. You can see the orientation of the kingpin is it slips on the bolt like this, and the little clip holds onto these little nubs. And so I'm going to take that out, and then the chain will become loose once I take this pin out. Alright, so I've rotated back this kingpin all the way to the end, and I've broken off the little metal bit on there, and now this piece comes out. It was pretty rusted on there, so I've had to break a little bit of it. And now this pin will come out, and that leaves the chain to come completely off the bike. Anyway, I got one of these guys right here. This is to adjust the chain. It's about 20 bucks on Amazon. These things are pretty hard to find. So I'll make sure to put a link for that in the video description below. And then the chain right here, it turns out that for each link is considered two little links right here. So there's 54 of these little guys, these little red things, and so the whole chain is 104 links long. So that's what fits on the Ducati S2R, the 800. So to loosen this up right now, because the old chain, you can see when I line them up directly right here, at the very end, the old chain is slightly longer than the new one, so it's been stretched out. So what I'm going to need to do is loosen up these pinch bolts, back this in a little bit so it's shortening the distance between the two sprockets so that the new chain will fit on. Perfect when I put the king link in, the main link, the master link. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to loosen and tighten the back sprocket. These are 14mm bolts right here, and you just have to loosen them up all the way. And then you take your little Ducati chain tool and you can pop it in here, and pushing it down actually loosens up the chain because it moves the sprocket towards the front of the bike. And then switching your tool around and pushing upwards tightens the chain because it moves the sprocket farther away from the front of the bike. Like that. So down is loose, up is tight. And then once you have it in the right spot, you just tighten these two little bolts back down and you're good to go.
So I got one of these clipped kingpins, or master links, because they're a whole lot easier to put on than the other ones. So basically I put the two rubber washers in there, and I'm just going to slide it through the back. Two slots. And then put the other two washers on the other side and slip that master link in there. In order to get this link on, you have to press this part of the master link farther on. There's a little tool that I'm going to link in the video description below that works better for this. I'm just going to use my chain punch tool and just kind of press it right there in the center. And now that it's pressed on enough to show those grooves right there, I can take my little link, pop it in, and then I'm going to use, grabbing it like that, I can just pinch it on into place. And you want to make sure that the round part of that clip is always going in the direction of your motorcycle. That way it never accidentally comes off. So for the chain tightness, the Ducati chain, it needs to be at 30mm, which is just over an inch. It's like 1.18. So right now it's a little bit below 2 when I pull down, and it's almost to 1 when I pull up. So I'm going to loosen up just a tiny bit so I have the 1.18 inches of flex in there. So that's about what it looks like when you have the right tension. The biggest thing is that you don't want, like when you're on the bike, your weight comes down and tightens up the chain. So the biggest thing is you don't want the chain to bind up when you hit that final, like when you hit a bump or something like that, and kind of bind your suspension into place. So just make sure that it's not super tight when you sit down, otherwise you might need to loosen up a tiny bit more.
The reason I changed my chain in the first place was that when I would go around corners and stuff, my chain would start clicking, or when I would accelerate, the chain would click because the links had stretched out enough that I wouldn't quite fit on the sprocket anymore. So now with the new chain, works like a dream. Alright, got those 2 pinch bolts down there tightened up, got all the guards back into place, and the chain is good to go. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like if this video helped you, and don't forget to subscribe. I put up videos fairly often. Thanks for watching.